It was the year I was in the 11th grade, a year that felt heavier than the ones before it. The final math exam was just 2 days away, and I was determined to pass with good marks. I told myself that I would wake up early, around 3 or 4 in the morning, to review the last few chapters. That night, I made a decision I had always avoided: to sleep in that room. It was the one empty room in our house, silent and untouched most of the time. Yet every time I passed by it, I felt something, a strange weight in the air, as if someone invisible was watching quietly from within. It wasn't frightening at first, just heavy, like the air itself carried memories that didn't belong to the present. One of the reasons I never slept there was the wall. On it hung several framed photographs of my late grandparents. Their faces stared gently from behind the glass, still solemn and frozen in time. My mother used to clean those pictures with care, as if she was wiping dust from her own heart. That night, though, something in me changed. It felt as though a quiet whisper was echoing inside my head, repeating softly, "Go and sleep in that room." At first I ignored it, but the voice persisted, gentle yet persuasive, as though someone was urging me, not with words, but with emotion. Finally, I gave in. Maybe it was exhaustion from studying, or maybe something else guided me there. I carried my pillow and blanket, walked into the room, and set my mother's phone on the small wooden table beside the bed. The air felt thick, colder than the rest of the house, and the faint scent of old wood mixed with something floral. Maybe the memory of my grandmother's perfume that once lingered here. I lay down, telling myself it was only for one night. The shadows from the moonlight fell across the faces in the photographs. My grandfather's portrait, his kind but stern expression, the deep lines of wisdom around his mouth, seemed almost alive under the soft glow. Before long, sleep pulled me in. The ringing of the phone's alarm woke me hours later. My mind was still foggy, trapped between dream and waking. I didn't move. I simply listened. The alarm went on for a while, sharp and rhythmic, before it suddenly stopped. Then, in that stillness, I heard it. A voice. Soft at first, then clearer. Someone was singing. It wasn't a modern tune, nor something from the radio. It was old, a poem sung in a slow, trembling tone, filled with meaning and sorrow. My heart began to pound. I sharpened my ears, trying to locate the source. The voice was coming from the wall, or more precisely, from one of the framed pictures. The bed wasn't even close to it, but the sound seemed to drift directly from my grandfather's photograph. I froze. I couldn't move. My breath caught in my throat. And yet, I knew that voice. I had never met him. My mother's father had passed away years before I was born. But somehow, deep inside, I knew it was him. My grandfather was singing. The tune carried words I had never heard before, yet they felt familiar, as if buried in my memory. Tears pricked my eyes, and terror overcame reason. I sat up, trembling, and screamed. My family came running. The door burst open and my mother, father, and siblings stood there, alarmed and half asleep. "What happened?" my mother cried, rushing to me. I was shaking so hard that my voice broke as I spoke. "Grandpa, he's singing. He's singing his poetry." The room fell silent. My words hung in the air like smoke. My father looked around the room, confused, but there was only silence now. Deep, oppressive silence. My mother stared at me. Her face turned pale. "You must have been dreaming," she whispered, her hands trembling slightly. "No," I said firmly. "It wasn't a dream." I heard every word. He was singing something about the wind and the stars, and I repeated the lines I had heard, words I had never known before. My mother's expression changed immediately. Her eyes widened, and she covered her mouth with her hand. I could see her lips tremble. She didn't speak for a long time. When she finally did, her voice was soft and cracked. Those were your grandfather's words. His favourite poem. He used to sing it in the evenings, right in this room. Tears filled her eyes. My father tried to comfort her, but she gently pushed his hand away and looked toward her father's photograph on the wall. That night, none of us spoke about what had happened again. My parents locked the room the next morning. They said it was better that way. But I noticed something after that. Late at night, when the house was quiet and everyone seemed asleep, I would sometimes hear the faint sound of the door creaking. I would peek from my room and see my mother standing by that same door, the one she had locked herself. Sometimes she would go inside, close it behind her, and not come out for a long time. One night, I gathered the courage to follow her. The door was slightly open, and through the small crack, I saw her sitting on the floor beside the photographs, tears running down her face. "Baba," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Please, read your poems for me again." And then, though I couldn't hear words, there was a sound, a faint, trembling hum. The room that once terrified me was alive again, filled not with fear, but with love that had never died. Even now, years later, I still remember that night before my math exam, the night my grandfather's voice crossed the boundary between life and death just to sing a poem to his daughter, and to let me know that some bonds never fade, not even with time or silence.